I'm at a point where I pretty much don't drink at regular bars anymore. I mean, what's the point? I can make a Jack and Coke at home. I can make a gin and tonic at home. Pretty much at this point in the game, the only time I'm drinking is when I'm at a tiki bar. Why? Because it's a full environment. And it isn't just drinking. There's a lifestyle to it. There's a sense of escapism. There's collecting. This is actually my first tiki mug. Well, it's a parrot, but it's the first mug I ever bought when I bought my first drink at the Tiki Lounge in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Tiki. Well, how it's just more than drinking at a bar. It can be a lifestyle. Hi everyone, this is Ray, or some of you might know me as Tiki with Ray, and I'm here with Piper and Ariel at the Tacoma Cabana in Tacoma, Washington. And we're going to talk about how a tiki bar isn't just drinking at a bar, how it literally can become a lifestyle, one step at a time. And for me, it started with just the love of tiki bars. I remember I really liked a tiki bar. I liked that it was a different experience than just going to a bar. And then you can start getting the drinks. And then like, wow, this is a drink that you can't get a zombie at some dive bar. Mm-hmm. No, you can't, right? And then it becomes like, oh, well, it's something that you can wear. You can like dress the part. And then there's actually tiki conventions that happen, where you go and like now you're with hundreds, sometimes thousands of other people, all dressed up like you, drinking Mai Tais, drinking zombies, and having a good time. But how did you get into tiki? Did it literally? I know you're into Disney. Did it start with the Enchanted Tiki room?
It started with the Enchanted Tiki room when I was 5.
Mm-hmm. So that was a seed then almost.
That was a seed.
Yeah.
That was a seed. And then from there, it just kind of steamrolled because I always loved that aesthetic. I love the tropical.
You were 5 when you went there, right?
Yes, I was 5 when I went there the first time.
So, I mean, how did that just stay in the back of your mind as you got to the
I feel like it was percolating.
It was just percolating. And then we went again when we were 13. And when I was 13 years old...
Enchanted Tiki room again?
Yes.
What was it like going to see the Enchanted Tiki room at 5 as opposed to being 13?
So when I was 13
thing,
years
or
old,
was it like...
I still loved it.
You're like, these birds aren't real.
And that's the thing is like...
We never had that sort of like... I think there are sometimes teenagers that feel like they have to be... and I love teenagers because I write for them. But I think sometimes there's that stage where you feel like you have to be a little like, I don't think that's that cool, because you're still trying to figure out who you are. It's a very stressful time.
But we didn't feel that at Disney.
Ever go through that in Disney, especially.
Yeah.
We went in there and we're like, this is still cool.
Yeah.
It's still really interesting.
Really, like when I was 13 years old, I purchased a print. I purchased a print of it was the Enchanted Tiki room print. There was a couple tropical birds, and I held on to that for literally years. For years. And
forgot about that.
When I was an adult, I actually got that framed. I took it with me from place to place to place when I moved, and I finally got it framed as an adult woman. And there was something about that, it always stuck with me.
It was like the piece that you built your home around.
My entire home is actually built around that one piece of art. Like, all of it.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It really
How
is.
so?
It's 100% true.
So I had that
I think I know the print. It's green.
It's green.
Yeah,
it's
it has the tikis, and it has all the birds.
Yes, and it has the birds. And
I
so
have the same print.
I literally built my entire house around that print. And it turned into, so every time I would go to Disney, I would collect another print. And I would get another one. And I think especially for people that live in the Pacific Northwest, when it's cold and it's dark and it's dreary, that sometimes, in order to get through those winter months, you try to surround self with things that make you happy and warm. And so I ended up decorating my house in that style, and I dragged my husband into it. Bless him. He's from Australia, and so I think he appreciated like that warm tropical style because now he lives in a place that's really cold during the winter times. And so he really liked it. But every time we would go there, I would purchase another print. And then all of a sudden, bit by bit, other parts of our house, we just add another piece of tropical decor. When we got married, someone bought us
The lamp.
a tropical themed lamp. And I remember just looking at it and being like, oh,
This is it.
this is it.
This is how I decorate
and I
my
had
home.
all these plates. I had all these plates I'd registered for.
Didn't you change them?
I did. I had all these plates in colors that I'd registered for. It was like red and white and all that stuff. And I looked at them and I went, yes! I ruby rotted all those plates. I was like, I ruby rotted all those plates. I returned them and I started buying them in tropical colors. And I didn't even know why, but I just bought them all in tropical colors. And all of a sudden the whole thing just exploded. And then we started finding tiki bars and it was like, oh, this is my thing. I found my thing.
I remember as a kid being like, oh, people have collections. That's a fun idea. I want to have a collection. And I would like try to force a collection because this is like a thing people did. I would go to my like friend's house.
And then
be
you
like,
realize now that
and
those
it's
people
like-
are called pack rats.
Yes,
Those
and I'd be
people are
like,
crazy.
This
They're
is
called
weird.
hoarders.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so I would like try to force one and then be like, oh, this doesn't matter. And then like, I wish I could remember where I even got my first tiki mug from.
Hawaii.
Oh, that's
Was
probably
it
right.
literally
remember.
from Hawaii?
Yeah. Actually, now that you say it's the Hawaii one, I know which guy it is.
Yeah.
I wish I had him here. He's like, you know, your like standard Moai. But I got
This sounds like a band
You know,
name.
your standard
Standard
Moai.
standard
Moai.
Moai.
I heard,
So-
I heard Standard Moai is playing at the
Yes.
Key Arena next month.
Yes. Standard Moai. what?
But then
Standard Moai in the house.
Yes. If I had musical talent, I would start that
That'd be your
band.
band?
You would start that band.
But I don't. So
no.
you're welcome.
Yeah, so I started collecting tiki mugs. So I didn't have as much of the print thing, although I do now. But my first collection was tiki mugs, and everywhere that I would go, if I had happened to see one, if I liked the way it looked, because I don't do the thing where it's like, if it's a tiki mug, I have to buy it. I have to like it. Like, it has to make me happy. I have to have some sense of,
Yeah.
like... And there were a few moments where I'm like, oh, I bought this because I had to figure out my way through buying tiki mugs. But eventually I started buying them where it was like, it has to speak to me. And I have to really love it as a mug. So I started collecting them. Now I think I probably have somewhere around 50. They're not all on display. I do also think it's important because people do like collections where it's like, don't touch it. I make drinks in all of them. And I don't...
admirable.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that's
do
the
not
point,
use
I
them.
think.
The idea of not using them, this vessel, which the purpose is to have this whole experience within, to have a tropical experience within it, it was crafted by someone who intended for there to be rum and lime and sugar in it, and I am not going to say no to that.
Thank you.
So I make drinks in all of them because I think it's important, and I rotate them around because I can't have them all on display right now. My goal is eventually they will all be on display, but right now they're not. So I do rotate them, and I make drinks in all of them. And I consistently collect tiki mugs because to me it's like it's a collection that has a value because you can use it. And I
That's
just
actually a good point. Like, what was your first tiki mug?
yeah.
I know my first tiki mug.
Ooh, okay.
A great story. So,
Okay.
my third tiki bar I ever went to, I moved to I lived in Seattle for like a long time. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and I got homesick, and I moved back to PA. This would have been 2007, 2008, and I moved to Pittsburgh. And in Pittsburgh, there's this place called the Tiki Lounge. Really cool, old school tiki bar. Yeah, you gotta go.
Okay.
And what was cool about this place is when you get a drink, you get to keep the mug.
Ooh.
Now yeah, and you know it was $12. This was again at 2008, 2009. That might have been a little steep for a drink, but you got to keep the mug.
Yeah.
And the mugs weren't anything special. I mean, they were pretty generic, but that is how my tiki mug started. Because I would constantly go to this tiki bar. And especially, you talk about it being cold and dark and rainy.
Oh.
Pittsburgh's like that, but with snow. So if there's any place you needed a tiki escape, it's that. So needless to say, I went there a lot. My tiki mug collection started with those mugs from.
Oh,
And,
so cool.
and my actual first tiki mug, well, I guess it technically isn't a tiki mug, but it was like a giant parrot.
Oh, okay.
That is
so
my
I have
dream
to see
then.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
do
so I'm
love
sure
the
you've seen it.
parrot.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how it kind of started for me. What I'm saying, like with tiki bars, I love tiki bars, and I think I've come to the conclusion it's the same thing for you. That ironically, a bar somehow reminds you of your childhood.
Yes.
Yes.
Which
oh,
it's
that's
so ironic,
perfect.
but that's exactly right.
Yes.
Like really hard to explain to people, but it does harken back to childhood.
Now get this stuff. So I grew up in the coal region of Pennsylvania, and there was this haunted house that was at this amusement park. The amusement park was called Knoebels Grove, and
I already want to go
you
there.
know, when I was a child, I used to go on this haunted house car ride where you sit down and it kind of goes around, and it's all the typical haunted house stuff. But for some reason, at the end of this ride, it had like this like jungle room. And you would go through, and there's like a giant tiki that blows air on you. There's waterfalls. There's like a tiger that jumps out.
Yeah.
That sounds
And then
nice.
and there's like a guy comes out. He's like, ah! It's supposed to scare you. And the whole thing was like in like fluorescent lighting. And just remember, as a kid, I used to just love that. I just thought it was cool. I mean, I never thought it was like scary.
Right.
Yeah, but it's just fun.
I just thought it was cool. So my very first bar I went to was a bar called Hula Hula, which is up in Seattle.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep.
And-
You actually know.
And back then, they were definitely going for more of a true, authentic tiki experience. They've kind of gone more towards like the karaoke crowd.
Yeah.
But back then, I remember going there for the first time, and I could have swore they had like fluorescent lighting. And just how the decor was immediately reminded me of that haunted house ride.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
What I'm starting to realize is I have a love for mid-century.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a tie between mid-century and tiki because obviously mid-century was at its peak in the 50s, 60s,
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, I grew up very, very close to not my aunts and uncles, but my great aunts and uncles. And they were the type of people that held on to their furniture. So
You're so lucky.
it's like the late 70s, early 80s. I'm a kid. I'm a teenager. I'm 10. I'm 11 years old. And I would go visit my great aunts and uncles, and like they'd have the mid-century modern couch. They'd have the Formica table. Like their houses look exactly how they probably wore from like the 60s or something like that. And I really honestly feel my love for mid-century is because of like it reminds me of my childhood. When did you start dressing up?
It started out probably like probably like
A couple years ago.
couple years ago, like the maybe mid 2000s, I found a company called Whirling Turban, and I just happened to look it up, and they made reproductions of Alfred Shaheen dresses. And at the time, there was no way I could afford like an original Alfred Shaheen. Those go for $500+. And I found this company, and there was something I saw it, and I
She
was like,
made it to your measurements
Yes.
specifically at the time. I don't know that she does that anymore.
but at the time, you would send in your own measurements, that you custom make a dress literally to your measurements. And I saw a pattern.
We should have worn that.
I should have worn
One
that
of us
too.
should have worn that
well,
today.
Go
we did.
home, change, and then come
Right.
back.
Right.
Run back.
The folks at home will be waiting for you.
Yes, I will. In a future episode, I will wear it because it's amazing. And
It's
so
beautiful.
I went, and it was at the time it was a crazy expense, but to me it was worth it. I bought that almost over like it's close to 10 years ago now. And it was
Still
worth
beautiful.
every penny. And that just started it. It started it up, and I appreciate companies like Pinup Girl Clothing.
Pinup Girl Clothing.
Because they design things that make, there's I've never met a woman that doesn't look good.
No,
In anything they do.
Good
Doesn't matter if you're 4'11", like me, or you're 6 feet tall. Shape, size, doesn't matter. Everybody looks good in it. And what it
Makes
is...
people look glamorous.
Yes. There's something about the glamour, about that time. And I think both of us work in situations where, like...
We don't get to be very glamorous.
We're
often.
not glamorous. I work outside. It's cold.
Yeah, I
it's
take it
dirty,
you don't wear
it's
this
wet.
when you're working
No.
with elephants.
No, when I'm working outside, I'm not glamorous at all. Sometimes people mistake me for a guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But on the weekends, it's really fun to play dress up. And so
I was gonna say the other company, Trashy Diva. Trashy Diva does. That's what I'm wearing right now. Trashy Diva does really beautiful work too, and I feel like it's the same deal where lots of people look really good in it,
everybody looks good in it, and I think that's the
and
magic
it's
of it.
functional. There are pockets in a lot of those
Pocket.
dresses, and
It all
maybe
comes
not
down to the
everybody-
pockets, people.
Not
Yes.
everybody understands this, but like if there's a dress with pockets, women will buy it.
Yes,
Pockets.
There
Oh my
you go, all
gosh.
you
'Cause it
clothing
turns
designers
out-
out there.
it turns out
We have things to
We
put
have
in the
things.
pockets.
who knew? Who knew?
Yeah,
but
that-
we do have
those
things.
tiki mugs as you're walking out of the tiki
Right?
bar
Yes.
with it, right?
Like you want to put something there. What about your car keys? You don't want to mess up the look of your dress.
Yes.
You can put them in
It's
your
true.
pockets.
I thought that's why there's fanny packs.
That's not right.
I'm just
No.
kidding. You know, so I got into tiki in around 2006, 2007. And I loved going to tiki bars, but it literally wasn't until like maybe 2 years ago until I even started wearing shirts. So forever, I just would go to bars. I just loved going to bars, and I never even thought about.
So what turned the switch where you're like,
Yeah.
now I want an Aloha shirt?
I live up in Seattle, and there's a guy up there. His name is Pete, and he has a home tiki bar in his basement. And every year he has a party, a full-on tiki party with surf bands. He has 2 bars in there
Can
where
I
people
meet
make
Pete?
it.
You said.
I'll introduce you to him.
Yes.
I'll introduce you to him. And I was
Pete.
hi Pete, and I was a +1 to someone else. And they're like, "Hey, I'm going to a tiki party. Do you want to come?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to go."
What are you wearing?
And then I went to this party. I don't think maybe I was wearing a polo shirt or something like that. And I went to this party, and no lie, there was like, I bet you like a couple hundred people at this party. Everyone is dressed up, guys and girls. And that was the first time I realized that, like, oh, tiki could be a lifestyle. That it can be more than just, I like going to tiki bars.
Yeah.
And I was talking to people that, just like you were saying, they collect tiki mugs. This person collects tiki art. This person collects Wicco, wood sculptures.
Yeah.
And, I realized then, like, oh, wow, I can take this further than just, I like Mai Tais. Mm-hmm. And then it sort of became all-encompassing. I started my blog, like, about a year later.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. So, that's the main thing I really... can you really, honestly... Is there any other bar or a type of bar where it can be this fully immersive? That's the main thing I love about tiki, is just that it isn't just drinking. It can literally be a lifestyle. It's my lifestyle, and I'm guessing it's probably your lifestyle too.
Yeah. It keeps happening.
It's definitely getting there.
Yeah, there you go. And aloha, mahalo, and all that other crap. Goodbye.
Bye.
What do you think?
Ariel, you're a writer.
Don't.
Yeah,
do
you're the
know.
blogger.
I did the thing. I did the thing you
You're the
hate.
one who's actually getting paid to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You get
nobody-
paid money, right?
I do.
She gets
get
paid real dollar bills.
Yeah, I mean, they're not like huge dollar
But you still get paid to do
but
it.
I do get paid.
I just drink for free.